Hi, so today I'm going to be talking about Stephen Sondheim's musicals Into the Woods, West Side Story, and Sweeney Todd, and the themes that he put into those. So first we've got Into the Woods, where there's a very strong theme of morality and good versus bad, and reality versus fairy tale. And in the beginning, throughout the whole movie, these characters are kind of in this fairy tale where they find this obstacle and they overcome it, and they overcome it by tricking people and the typical fairy tale. They overcome it by tricking people and by being deceitful and just promoting their own self-gain. And so in all the fairy tales we hear, that's works out well for them. The baker and his wife, they give Jack these beans, and Jack ends up making this magic beanstalk, and he gets the golden egg, and he's rich. And then the baker and his wife get their baby, and that's all good and stuff. And then in the end it's oh, but you still screwed up because the dragon's destroying the whole entire village because you guys are so focused on getting what you wanted. And so and then of course the baker's wife dies, and we see that as the result of their actions, of everyone's actions. And they're all kind of fighting at the end, whose fault was this? It's your fault you did this, it's your fault you did this. It's a very fun singing song number. But other than that, they're all fighting, and finally the witch is okay, it was all your guys' faults. So, and I think that's when the theme becomes very prevalent, that the wife's dead and this giant is destroying the village because you were all so focused on what you wanted that you were putting aside what was right. And that's kind of how that plot is fulfilled and how we see the main theme. And then we've got Sweeney Todd, which is it's very clear that Todd is out for revenge revenge for what the judge did to his wife, and how his wife, he presumes the wife to be dead. And so, well, doesn't presume, he's told the wife is dead, so he believes she's dead. And so he becomes so focused on killing the judge and getting revenge, and he's so hateful in his heart that he's really not all that concerned with his daughter. I mean, it seems like he's at points, but he's really mainly focused on killing the judge. And we see this when he sees his daughter at the end of the movie, and he almost kills her because he thinks she's a boy. And so he's just so focused on that. And then you even see it even more, that his revenge has blinded him and gotten him nowhere when he kills his wife, who's actually alive. And he was so clouded by that revenge that he couldn't even see that what he was doing. And then he ends up dead, and it's just very clear that a vengeful heart is not going to get you anywhere. And Sondheim makes that very prevalent through the whole movie. And then we've got West Side Story, which is very obviously motivated by race and ethnicity and the controversies between that, because you've got the Sharks, who are Puerto Rican, who come into the turf of the Jets, who are Caucasian, and it's just very, 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 obvious what would happen. It's not going well, because it's, set in a time when that was not welcome. And so then we've got these two characters, Maria and Tony, from opposite sides of the spectrum, who fall in love, and but the turf war's still going on, and it's still disrupting, and Tony dies. So it's just that one. It's a pretty obvious this is race and ethnicity should not separate us, because then people end up dying, and it's not always the Puerto Rican person, it's the Caucasian person from the Jets, Tony. It's just it's not good for anyone. And Maria kind of makes that known in the end, this was ridiculous. This shouldn't have happened. And I think that's kind of where we're all at right now with all of these topics. But and then overall, there's a very strong theme in each of his musicals of socioeconomic issues, oppression of the poor, and oppression of the different, just in general, themes we see every day and that have occurred throughout history, and hopefully will be resolved soon. Probably not, because it's the world we live in, unfortunately. But you see it in in Into the Woods, the baker and his wife, they don't have enough money, and the Cinderella is poor, and she thinks that becoming rich is going to solve all her problems, and that being in love with the prince is going to solve all of them, but it doesn't. And then we see it again in Sweeney Todd. Todd and his wife are both very clearly taken advantage of by the judge because of his wealth and his like position of power. And Sondheim, of course, shows that kind of goes along with the race and the ethnicity and the battles between the Jets and the Sharks in West Side Story. And he kind of just, all of that kind of wraps together, just one big, like, hey, just because people are poor or, like, in a lower position of power doesn't mean you can treat them badly. But it happens. So, thanks for listening. I hope that's what you needed from me. Thanks.